Sports Illustrated reporter Jake Fischer joins us now on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline. Recently wrote an article on Jimmer Fredette and the latest in his chase for the NBA. Jake, nice to have you on the show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
What did you learn about Jimmer Fredette in your latest story on him that maybe you didn't know before?
Oh, I learned a lot. I had never had the privilege of speaking to Jimmer before I met up with him at the Vidar Hotel lobby later last week. Very nice guy, very courteous this time. I talked to a lot of people who spent a lot of time around him. Head coach Mike Malone from the Nuggets, who spent Jimmer's third season in Sacramento, has nothing but high praise for his basketball IQ, commitment to the game, how he's tried to progress as an overall playmaker. Talked to former BYU teammate Brandon Davies about him, and said that they both have fighting blood in their veins. Talked to a New Orleans Pelicans development coach, Brett Benson, who spent a lot of time with Jimmer, who spoke at length about the Pelicans development plan for him, both defensively and offensively. So definitely learned a lot about how he's truly, really become committed to finding a role on an NBA roster, being an all-around playmaker off the bench, score the ball, instead of just being a guy looking for his own shot. He's now really committed to trying to make plays for his teammates out of the pick and roll and drive and create open looks for guys on the wings, as well as compete more defensively on the perimeter.
Two things that stuck out in your article are what you just mentioned, was that offensively he's working to be better in pick and roll situations, and then two, defensively. Now, there are a lot of bad defensive players in the NBA. For some reason, his defense gets picked on, but Jamal Crawford, no one's talking about his defense, or what, you can name a gajillion guys. Why is it that his defense gets picked on the most when there are plenty of other guys that can't play D?
You could make the argument it's because he is white. You could make the argument it's because he was this college superstar that the superstardom didn't translate to the NBA. So in the fact that he had this lofty reputation and expectations that he wasn't able to meet them and continue over, and compound that with the fact that he hasn't really been able to redefine himself a la J.J. Redick and carve a role in the NBA, it's kind of the criticism is naturally falling on him for why hasn't he at least bought in on his defensive end.
Not everyone has read your article, and if you haven't, it's a good read. We'll tweet that out on our BYU Sports Nation account. So walk us through what you have learned about Jimmer in respect to what he is doing and what he has done to try and improve his much criticized defense.
He told me that recently he's been playing a lot of one-on-one basketball at Chauncey Billups' co-owned training facility, D1 Fitness out in Denver. That is kind of designated to keep your man in front of you, obviously, because if you let him in front of you, if you let him behind you, he scores. To me, I think that's not really enough of an effort. Playing one-on-one in the full half court gives you a lot of room to recover. I think some of the drills that he had been doing in New Orleans, where he had to turn a coach every 3 dribbles, and he had to put a towel around his head, holding with his hands to keep his hands out of the play and move his feet defensively. I think more drills like that are going to really benefit him down the line. But it looks like he has some success, relatively speaking, in summer league, being able to compete in the defensive end, just based off of the one-on-one work he's done out in Denver with Chauncey Billups this summer.
Jake, I have a hard time. Some fans think, Jimmer hasn't been given a fair shot yet to show what he can do. I have a hard time after 5 years agreeing with that sentiment. Do you think he's had a fair shot to show what he can do in the NBA?
I think it's fair if you made the argument either way. Think about it. He was in a pretty tough situation in Sacramento, an unstable organization for his first 3 years. He got waived midway through that third season, picked up by Chicago, and then spent 1 year in New Orleans with a team that was really all in trying to make the playoffs around Anthony Davis. And then last year, he got invited to training camp with the Spurs as a 15th guy, so there really wasn't a lot of margin for error there. And then when he got called out to the Knicks this season after playing in the Westchester D League team, Kurt Rand was pretty open to the media about he really didn't want Jimmer on that team. So you could make the argument he hasn't had a totally fair shake. But I would have to agree that he's had a lot of time. It's just been a matter of the fact that he hasn't really been able to develop a well-rounded game, all-around game to this point. And I think we're finally starting to see that in Summer League this week.
If there were an NBA team that was a best fit for Jimmer Fredette, who would that be?
Well, I'm from Philadelphia, and I do some work covering the Sixers. So when I tweeted out the Jimmer story, my timeline was pretty much immediately filled with some guys suggesting that Jimmer would be a good veteran fit in Philadelphia. I tend to agree as well. They're kind of full at the point guard spot, actually. They have Sergio Rodriguez, they have Jared Bayless, they have TJ McConnell, and of course Ben Simmons is going to be playing a lot going forward. But I think as a combo scorer off the bench, you can kind of do some damage to the second unit and take some pressure off the guys. And the team's also overall devoid of three-point shooting. I think Jimmer could fit there. I think there's a lot of younger teams like that who have some cap room that could take a risk on an older guy who might be a positive reinforcement in their locker room in terms of a veteran presence, a hardworking guy. I think that'd be a great fit for Jimmer.
Jake, do you think Jimmer will be on an NBA roster when the season starts?
He definitely will. I think he's definitely done enough to earn a training camp invite. With that, he's going to have to play his butt off in order to really make the opening night roster. Right now, I'd probably put the odds, honestly, at 50-50. I think it really depends on which he ends up in a solid situation with the right opportunity. And from there on, it's going to have to be the shots have to fall, and he has to continue to play, as Mike Malone stated, non-mistake basketball in order to continue his progression back into finding a spot in the league.
If Jimmer Fredette cannot find an NBA home this season, in your opinion, is it time for him to go play basketball in Europe?
Yes. He's already turned down many lucrative offers there this summer, so the market will be high for him, and he'll make a ton of money that will help his family, his wife and their dog out in Denver. I absolutely, it would be time, yeah.
Hey, dog food ain't cheap, man.
Hey, Jake, we appreciate the time. We enjoyed the story. Again, we'll tweet that out on our BYU Sports Nation account, and we wish you the best in your NBA coverage, man.
Yeah, thank you guys for reading. Thanks for having me.